Let me tell you a story. There was this young boy named Marcus. He was bright, curious, full of potential, had everything going for him, but he made one mistake. He got into a fight at school. No weapons, no drugs, just a fight. Instead of the school administration sitting him down and having a conversation or counseling Marcus, Marcus was suspended. Marcus was suspended. Upon further investigation, he was expelled. That one decision put him on a path that led him straight to juvenile detention. Not because he was a criminal, because the system treated him as a criminal. Marcus isn't just one kid. He represents thousands across the world. So in tonight's episode of the South Got Something to Say podcast, we introducing a 10-part series called The Pipeline Project. I'm exposing how small mistakes in school can lead to life-altering consequences and how policies, not people, is to blame.
Mic check, 1, 2. Welcome to the wave. It's the South Got Something to Say. No time to behave. We talk truth from the booth. Ain't no time for the fake. Politics, pain, and power. Every move that we make. From Selma to Savannah, we rise and we stand. With a voice for the voiceless and truth in our hand. Portez blazing. Every Thursday we ignite Southern soul in your speakers. We shine that light up. Down in the South, we got something to say. Turn the volume up. We don't play. From the struggle to the rise, we pave that way. It's the real every week. Press play, press play. Down in the South, we got something to say.
It's your boy Melbo. Welcome to the South Got Something to Say podcast. This is we airing our first episode of the Pipeline Project, a 10-part podcast series where we dig deep into one of the most urgent and heartbreaking crises in American education, the school to prison pipeline. And in this very first episode, we laying the foundation. What exactly is the school to prison pipeline? How did we get here? And most importantly, what impact does this system have on the millions of students, especially Black and brown children with disabilities, especially children that look like me, and social context for how it became so deeply rooted in our schools. So let's get right into the content. In the first set, we're gonna talk about what is the school to prison pipeline? What is the school to prison pipeline? The school to prison pipeline refers to the policies, practices, and conditions that push students one way or the other, and they often use those that are marginalized backgrounds out of schools, and they push them right into juvenile or the criminal justice system. Let me say that again. This is just not a metaphor when I say the school to prison pipeline. It's not just a metaphor. This is a very real path that many students that we see every day are funneled through, start with school discipline and ending with incarceration, ending with prison. And this pipeline is shaped by many, many forces. A lot of fuel driving this pipeline. Harsh school discipline policies, zero tolerance laws, the presence of law enforcement in the schools, a lack of mental health and special education support, and systemic racism, underlining racial and economic justice. In short, and this is the whole root to the whole issue. It's where education ends and incarceration begins. That's the school to prison pipeline. So in this segment, we're gonna talk about how did we get here? So we gotta go all the way back and rewind to understand how all this started. In the late 80s and the early 90s, it was a rise on the war on drugs and fears about super predators and all of these things. The school began to start adopting these, what you call zero tolerance policies. And they look just like, the schools start to look just like the criminal justice system. A zero tolerance policy means automatic punishment, no matter what. They ain't look at the student background. automatic punishment for any discipline infractions, regardless of the situation, intent, or the student history. It didn't matter. If you fight, you suspended. It didn't matter. Zero tolerance policy. But this period also saw a rise in when they started putting in these SRO, these school resource officers, police officers stationed inside the school. Their role wasn't just security though. They started to respond to disciplinary issues in the schools. And students started getting arrested for things they used to get detention for. And misbehavior, now it ain't a learning opportunity, it was a charge. They charged these kids. And do y'all believe, as we move over to the data that support this, in Alabama alone, the state that we live in, where many of our listeners may be at today, 72% of incarcerated individuals have an IEP. Right here in the state of Alabama, 72% of incarcerated individuals have an IEP. That means 3/4 of the prison population have been identified in school as having a learning disability or special learning need. And guess who is the kids that most affected? Y'all want to take a guess? Black students represent 15% of K through 12 enrollment in the country. But 33% of our students have been suspended, 42% have been suspended more than one time. Y'all heard that? It's our students. They account for 25% of student arrests. Black kids, 25% of student arrests. Students who are suspended or expelled are 3 times more likely to come in contact with the juvenile justice system. Do y'all hear that? When they get suspended, you are leading them to the juvenile system. Impact on marginalized communities. Marginalized, that means the community with the least is targeted the most, especially Black and brown students. Black boys are disproportionately punished, not because they misbehave more, because of implicit bias and systemic racism. We can't say it no different than that. Students with disabilities are disciplined for having behaviors directly tied to their disability. We talked about that when we did our show on autism. And don't forget about the students that experiencing poverty, trauma, mental health struggles, all risk factors when unmet by schools. They become triggers for discipline problems, punitive behavior. Rather than supporting them, they punish them. Zero tolerance policies and over-policing in school. Zero tolerance and over-policing in our school. Our students are already over-policed in the community. Now they're being over-policed even in the schools. Zero tolerance policy treat all infractions the same, regardless of any intent. And all of these things that we're talking about, this is the introduction to our 10-part series. This is the introduction to our 10-part series. We're gonna break each and every last aspect of this school to prison pipeline down in 10 episodes. See, with a zero tolerance policy, they don't ask what happened. They don't ask why did this happen or how can we support them student. Automatic suspension, expulsion. They jump straight to the punishment, often pushing kids out of the classroom and into alternative schools, or juvenile detention, or even expulsion. That is going on right here, all around us in our community. And it don't help that this over-policing environment doesn't make schools safer. Schools ain't no safer with all of the over-policing they do in the schools. The school is still not safe. It makes them look more like prisons. it makes them look more like prison. Students are still being bullied. Students are still being tortured. Students are still being talked about. Teachers are still lacking on their job. Ain't nothing changing. The schools are no safer. It just built more like prison. Told you there was going to be a hard conversation to have. But what can we do for our itty bitties? What can we do? What can we as a community start to do to disrupt? That's what we got to start doing. We got to disrupt this school to prison pipeline. We see it every day. We see it every day. And it's nothing that we as a community are standing up to do about it. We know it. All of these statistics that I'm throwing out here, we know it. To say 72% of the prisoners, the inmates in Alabama have an IEP, that should show you something. 3/4 of the prisoners and inmates have an IEP. Why are we turning a blind eye to this? Why are we turning a blind eye to this? Do we understand? Do we understand that these are our kids? We got little boys in kindergarten, in first grade, in second grade, already being targeted by this school to prison pipeline because maybe Johnny talked too much. Maybe Johnny is loud. Maybe Johnny has ADHD. Maybe Johnny has autism. Those are all scenarios, all reasons to start this school to prison pipeline. And that is why this matters. That's why I feel like we finna push hard on this school to prison pipeline, because right here in the city I love, I watch it every day. In the job that I do, I see it every day. We are our own worst enemy by sitting down and not stepping up and doing something. Make people do their doggone job. It's easy to put Lil Johnny out of class. It's easy to suspend Lil Johnny. That makes your job easier. How much can we support Lil Johnny? Why we can't figure out why Johnny having these behaviors? Is it poverty? Is it his socioeconomic status? Is he struggling with mental health? Do we have parents that struggle with mental health? The first thing we do is kick them out of school. We over-police. Yes, I understand we need officers in our school, but officers need to be looking at criminal behavior. But now our officers in the school is responding to just discipline problems, things that would normally get you put in detention, getting you put in Paravana, in the Dallas County detention center. Things that normally would have landed me in 1995, 96 in detention, got Mr. Grayson or Mr. Harrison to put a good quick pat on my butt, is landing our babies in detention. The over-policing in school is a problem. And it ain't making the schools any safer. It is getting them prepared for prison. It is getting them prepared for over-policing in the neighborhood. I know it's a hard conversation to hear, but somebody gotta have it. And that we do over the South, on the South Got Something to Say podcast, we have real conversation. But why does this matter? Education should be a ladder for opportunity, not a pipeline to incarceration. We should not be training our kids to go to prison. when we criminalize childhood behaviors, things that they're gonna do as children, we criminalize those behaviors and fail to meet the student needs and disproportionately punish certain groups, we lose potential. We lose talent. We lose lives to a criminal system. And as a society, we pay the price. As a society, we pay the price with higher incarceration rates. We pay the price with broken families. We pay the price with lost economic opportunity. We pay the price. See, we think this cycle is not gonna end. It's only one way to disrupt this system. It's the community screen together and the community come together and you talk to your leaders, you talk to your administrators, you talk to your teachers. Our babies are not criminals. It might be a little bad, but they're not criminals. And when you identify the criminals, they're doing criminal behavior. But things that we did as children, they do now is criminalized. We are failing to meet these students' needs, and we are punishing certain groups. Y'all heard the stats. 1 out of every 6 kids in the United States in public schools are Black, but 1 out of every 3 end up in jail. Let that sink in. Let that sink in. Because in society, we pay the price. We pay the price. So we got to hone in, and we are just getting started on this subject. We gonna beat this horse till it can't be beat no more. This is what our summer gonna look like over here on the South Got Something to Say podcast. So if you got a little boy and you know that he have a little discipline problem in the school and you can't sit him down for this because it's only about to get real. It's only about to get more in depth. It's only about, this is just the introduction to what we doing. That everybody that want to sit on their hand and do nothing but hope something change. You know what they say about holding hope in one hand. It's time to get real. And this is what we're gonna use this summer on the South Got Something to Say podcast. You're not gonna tell me that our children can't be helped. You can't tell me that we can't meet our student needs. You ain't gonna tell me that we gotta punish certain groups. You ain't gotta tell me that because of the color of these kids' skin, they are 1 and 3 more times to end up in prison. Or because they have a special learning need, a specific learning disability, that they deserve to be incarcerated? 72%. And this all struck with me. I was in the conference zone yesterday, and when they were reading off these numbers, I said, I can't believe what I'm hearing. And we think it's okay. Parents, y'all better get up and find out what your children are doing in them schools. You better find out what them schools doing. And you need to start documenting everything, because I promise you, they document everything. I promise you, they are documenting everything. So if you sit up in here and you just sending your children to school and you let these write-ups pile up, and they keep piling up, and these suspensions pile up, they are building a case. Man, I've got some nice prisons with hospitals and cafeterias. Oh, they doing it big. For-profit prisons right here in Alabama. Hey, one thing I learned about it, somebody who who put their money in the business that want to profit. They need a plan before they invest $800 million into these prisons. These investors wanted a plan on how we gonna get our money back. These investors wanted a plan on how they gonna get their money back. All of this money they invested in these for-profit prisons in the state of Alabama, where our babies at, where our itty bitties at. They wanna know how they gonna get their money back. And they gonna use what we're talking about today. So I don't know what more entertaining to you. I don't know what's more fitting for you to be doing with your time. I don't know what you and your children got planned for this summer. And you don't have to listen to me. Even though I'm gonna come in week and week out and break this thing all the way down to the simplest form. I don't know what you planning, but if you don't got no plan to sit your black baby down, if you don't got no plan to sit your black baby down this summer and let them learn about this school to prison pipeline, especially if they already getting in trouble. I got a baby, I'm gonna sit down. Because you building a case. If you've been suspended more than one time this school year, you have made their case on why they need to invest in these prisons. If you're not attempting to test your child out of special education, you are contributing to their for-profit business. If you're not taking the time to research and learn and work with your children on specific learning disability, you are participating in their for-profit business. Y'all better hear me when I talk to y'all. I'm not just saying this stuff. Y'all know a lot of y'all know what I do for a living. You better get your baby. And that's just as honest as I can tell you. You better get your baby. You better sit your baby down. You better share it. Well, no, you better not share this video. You better get in and learn this stuff. But if you need to, share this video. So we got more coming. We got more coming. Because in this series, we're going to dive deep into the role of these school resource officers. What should they be doing, but what is happening? How trauma and disability factor in. This is what we're gonna talk about in this 10-part series. The racial and socio-economic dimensions that is affecting our baby. What does restorative justice look like? That word tripped me up so much. What does it really look like? And the most important thing we're gonna talk about through all 10 episodes is how we can disrupt this pipeline. We're gonna figure out how we can disrupt this pipeline. We finna chop this video up. We finna put out reels all over Facebook, all over TikTok, all over Snapchat. We're gonna let the world know. We're gonna let everybody know that the South Got Something to Say podcast has a summer mission to educate, motivate, inspire, and equip not only our itty bitties, but our parents, our teachers, our administrators, our community leaders, our politicians, our everybody around us, our churches, our pastors. We got to disrupt this prison, the school to prison pipeline right here in our city, right here in our state, right here in our country. Because if you don't do it, I promise you, ain't nobody sitting in the White House trying to figure out how to keep your child out of prison. Ain't nobody sitting up there in Montgomery. The Alabama State House was probably one person, Dr. Tanya Chestnut. Ain't nobody sitting up there, besides a select few, that is trying to keep your baby out of prison. Your little black boy out of prison. Nobody. So don't let you become a part of that. You gotta get your baby. You gotta get your baby. You gotta get your little black boy. You need to sit him down and look him dead in the face and say, boy, I don't want you to go to prison. And I'll do whatever it takes to keep you out. So let's go learn together, baby. Let's go study this school to pipeline thing together, baby. Because every time you go in that school and you act a plump fool and they put you out, you just contributed to their for-profit business. You are the reason why these investors invested. They expect to see you. You got to break that. You got to disrupt that. And if this episode moves you in any way, I encourage you to share. If it moves you in any way, I encourage you to share. I encourage you to talk to a parent, talk to a teacher, talk to a school board member, talk to your county commissioners and your city councilmen and your mayors. And let's bring this conversation into our communities. Let's find resources. And we're gonna, over this 10-part series, we're gonna have so many resources. We're gonna have so much data, reports, organizations that are working to disrupt this system. Episode 2 will be Thursday of the Pipeline Project. And we'll break down the exact ways discipline policies are pushing students out of school and what needs to change. That's what we'll talk about on next week. We're gonna break down exact ways discipline problems are pushing students out of school and into alternative school, or into suspension, or into juvenile detention center, or into boot camps, or into specialized treatment centers. We're gonna talk about how these discipline policies, not the discipline itself, the discipline policies are pushing students out of school. And what we need to change. And how can we make a change? Everybody running for something. This election season. And I ain't running for that. Just throwing that out there. And our motto for this pipeline, education is a right, but incarceration is not an inevitability. It's not inevitable that our baby's going to prison. We're not accepting that. Incarceration is not an inevitability. We're not accepting that at all. So everybody will get themselves together. Thanks for listening on the South Got Something to Say podcast today. What a show we had. I told y'all, it was just the introduction. So we need to understand what these policies is, and we'll talk about the policies on next episode. We'll break them down. What is the discipline policies and why are they pushing our kids out of school? And what needs to change? Next week on the South Got Something to Say podcast, the Pipeline Project, next Thursday, 8 o'clock. Be here. And y'all go visit my website at melbowsmedianetwork.com. Go check out the Faith Fellowship podcast where we do our faith-based content. Go check that out. You already know we got the South Got Something to Say YouTube channel and the South Got Something to Say Facebook channel. Each one, teach one, love or be loved.
Yo, hit that sub if you feel what bring truth from the south. Yeah, the bell steady ringing. We talk real talk, no cap, no disguise. From the block to the boardroom, we open in the night. Politics, pain, and the power we claim. Every topic on fire, but the mission the same. Don't scroll past, take a second, press play. Cause the South got something to say every week. No, yo. Subscribe right now. Don't wait, don't sleep. Got the truth in your ear and the vibe run deep. Real talk from the South. We gon' lead the way. So lock in with the team. Got something to say.